Hello, my name is Andy, and I am the village idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro, and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the city of Leeds in West Yorkshire. Now, we're starting to get to places in Leeds that I personally do not know, and that is certainly true of this place and the next three places you're going to see in this Leeds series. Now, I'm filming this introduction for this one after having walked around this village, and I'm wondering why on earth I've never been to this place before. Some of the views that you can get from this village are absolutely stunning, including that one that's behind me. Welcome to the beautiful Shadwell. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like, and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Shadwell is a village and civil parish in the northeast of Leeds in West Yorkshire. The village is 6 miles to the northeast of Leeds city centre. It sits in the Harewood ward of Leeds City Council and Elmet and Rothwell parliamentary constituency. The village is in the LS17 postal code, and it's served by Shadwell Parish Council. It borders areas including Alwoodley, Roundhay, Winmore and Moortown, and it's increasingly referred to as a suburb. Okay, I found a map of the village. I'm having to hold the camera like I used to, as opposed to having it on the tripod here, because I can't position it very well the way this is laid out. Okay, so my route started here at the pub, and I'm currently there. I haven't gone very far. I've gone as far as the library, and my route will basically take me to this corner. There's a little footpath here onto Ash Hill Drive, and then I'm going up Ash Hill Drive around this housing estate. I will catch this here. That's something, I think. I checked the map before I came here. I think there's something there. And then I'm coming back down Main Street, past the school, along here, and back up to the pub again. And then there's an area here, there's a park just here, which I will catch. And then later on in the video, we'll be going out to this area, Slade Hill, because this housing estate also falls within Shadwell's boundaries. And this is a great map because there's plenty of stuff at the bottom of it about the village. And you better believe I'm taking some pictures of this lot and putting it in the video where appropriate. Despite being referred to as a suburb, it still retains many village traditions. It's got a population of 1,849, and it has in the past been more associated with Wetherby rather than Leeds. It's still covered by a local newspaper called the Wetherby News. The village is built on an area that's underlain by a thick layer of impervious clay, which explains the number of springs and wells in the area. One of those wells is rather famous in these parts, and we'll get to that shortly. On a clear day, you can see the towers of York Minster from this place, if you know where to stand. Now, if you can cast your mind back to the Leedsham episode here in Leeds, the very first one I did in this series, you remember there was a very tight corner in that village. Shadwell has one too, this here on Main Street, and the difference is this is a bus route. I've just seen a bus come around this corner. Very difficult to negotiate, I must admit. The first written proof of Shadwell's existence is in the Domesday Book, where it's noted as Shadwell, at the time part of the feudal barony of Pontefract. It was a small agricultural village that was unaffected by King William's harrying of the north. The origin of the name is not certain, and some 25 variations are found in the historical records, the present one being largely fixed in the 18th century. In the original Anglo-Saxon form, well, spelt with an E, could mean a well, spring or boundary, or often a boundary stream. If that's the case here, the stream in question would be Shadwell Beck, a shallow stream which runs through the village. The skade portion could refer to shade, as in a shady spring, or a name such as Chad or Shad, and different characters with these names have been postulated. Springs and wells are certainly a thing here. The village has 8 wells, which are shown on an 1851 OS map. Are we really in Leeds? It's so quiet here. Really, really quiet. One of the wells in Shadwell is called the Holywell, located in an area called the Holywell Triangle, a conservation area. It's effectively a glorified pond that's believed to cure all sorts of ailments if it's bathed in or drunk from. It's reputed to have been visited by Bede and used for the baptism of early Christians. The village pub, the Red Lion, is located between 2 wells which were originally used to gather water for the brewing process. In the Middle Ages, Shadwell was part of the Wapentake of Skyrack. The first time we've met that name, it won't be the last. Over the centuries, Shadwell was sometimes a separate manor, and sometimes part of the Manor of Roundhay, until these rights were extinguished in 1935. In the early part of the 19th century, it was still a village with fewer than 200 inhabitants, containing 11 farms, 2 inns and a Methodist chapel, but no school or church. However, from the middle of the century, buildings began to appear as wealthier people moved out of industrial Leeds. Most buildings in the village were made with stone from the local quarries. Speaking of buildings, Holywell Lane is interesting. The long row of terraces there were built for workers on Eccop Reservoir, known as Barracks No. 1 in 1874. Shadwell was historically a township in the ancient church parish of Thorner in the West Riding of Yorkshire until the construction of St Paul's Church in 1842. Until 1912, Shadwell was part of Wetherby Rural District. Let's have some demographics now. Shadwell's population is spread over an area of land that totals a pretty small area in truth. It's only just over 3 square kilometres big. That means the population density is pretty high. Here we have a figure of 612.3. Pretty amazing therefore how it still retains that village feel. This next thing is very unusual. Normally the ethnic makeup is well over 95% white British, but here it's different. Only 89.2% identify as such here. There's a fair number of Asians in this one. Over half the population are of working age though, which is normal. The average house here has a value of £378,000. Your main bus in this part of Leeds is the 7S. It runs from Shadwell to Infirmary Street in the city centre. There are other buses including services to Wetherby High School. The village has 2 churches. The Church of England Parish Church is St Paul's, a Grade 2 listed building from 1842. This replaced a much earlier Chapel of Ease on Gateland Lane, which had been disused and had vanished by then, as stones were taken for other buildings. When a new vicar was appointed for the parish of Thorner in 1839, he was concerned that Shadwell had lost its Chapel of Ease. That led to the construction of this building. The architect was Robert Chantrell, who's associated with Leeds Minster. The burial ground to the rear of the church was acquired in 1861. The Shadwell Methodist Chapel dates from 1892, and it replaced a smaller building on the opposite side of the road, which was the chapel from 1814. There are 6 shops in Shadwell. These include a small off licence which doubles as the village's post office, and this is next to a beautician's. The village Chippy is one of the oldest buildings in the village. It's a Grade 2 listed building dating from 1637. The next thing is not a shop, but I felt it belonged with these. You'll never be needing to buy herbs in Shadwell. These are the Shadwell Community Herb Beds. No money required, all you need are scissors. The village pub is the Red Lion, and this has got a bit of history to it. It was probably built in the early part of the 19th century. In 1814, the owner of the Red Lion acquired a plot of land opposite, turning it into a successful cricket club. It spent 100 years on that site before moving to Brandon Crescent. In terms of education, the village is served pretty well. Here we have Shadwell Primary School. Shadwell United is a junior football club which trains here. The former Methodist chapel is now the village's library. It was at first a Sunday school before becoming the library in 1932. The library runs something called the Hardback Cafe every Friday, according to numerous signs I spotted like this all around the village. The village hall next. This used to be a school, and you can tell from the architecture. It closed in 1957. The present school opened in 1967. This next building is the Scout Hut. Shadwell has plenty of these kind of groups. There are Scouts, Cubs, Beavers, Guides and Ranger groups here. Originally, the Scouts were based in this building as early as 1930. This is the Shadwell Recreation Centre. During World War II, this functioned as an engineering works. Shadwell Park is right behind this, and it's a lovely open space for the locals. It has a large-ish playground too. So here at Shadwell Park there is a little playground as well, but the one downside to the sun being out, which don't get me wrong, it's a nice thing, is it brings all the children out and they want to play on the equipment, and of course I'm not about to stick the camera in their faces. It wouldn't look good. Here's the obligatory allotment shot for all the adoring fans of them out there. I'm too good to you really, aren't I? We've got a couple of memorials in the village. The most obvious of these is the War Memorial, which stands in the churchyard at St Paul's. This little garden area with an attractive flower bed, one of many in Shadwell, is near the school, and it was constructed to commemorate the Queen's Jubilee in 2012. The present-day village green is a shadow of its former size. This area is known as Stocks Hill to locals, as it's where the village stocks used to be. Perhaps in homage to the history of wells in the area, here's a well for you, with flowers looking rather resplendent at the village's main bus stop. This property is called Pump House, and it stands close to a pumping station, cited as one of the main reasons Shadwell is now part of Leeds. This is the pumping station, built to pump sewage from the lower parts of the village up to Ash Hills near the Scout Hut, where gravity would take over. This here is close to the pumping station. It's a bridge over Shadwell Beck, which is rather originally named Shadwell Bridge. A couple of notable buildings for you now, which luck would have it stand side by side. Here's the old vicarage, which was built in 1872. And behind these gates is the old hall, which was originally known as Shadwell Hall. It bears a date stone of 1706, making it probable that at least part of it dates back that far. I have no idea if this tree was intentionally carved like this to look like a seat, but this is outside the old hall and it looked pretty neat. What appears to be a pretty normal wood over there is anything but. That's bluebell wood, also known as Pitt's wood. It's where the local sandstone was quarried. And you cannot overlook the amazing scenery in Shadwell in the slightest. This shot was taken from the end of Blind Lane, looking west. Isn't it just the most fabulous view? Can I just say, what a view. Slade Hill is within the manor or traditional estate of Shadwell, about half a mile west of the main village, with clear countryside between the two. Slade Hill is within the Alwoodley ward of Leeds City Council, whereas Shadwell sits within Harewood. Shadwell Parish excludes most of Slade Hill, but does include this estate to the south of Shadwell Lane and to the east of Roundhay Park Lane. The 1881 census makes it clear that the district of Shadwell extended to the west end of Shadwell Lane and to the Moortown Ring Road in the south. Located at Slade Hill is Shadwell Grange, which is a large house and farm with a view over the Moortown Ring Road. It's a Grade 2 listed building, and you can see it in today's picture bit. Okay, that's about time for a picture bit for the parish of Shadwell, and here it comes right now. And I'm back where I started, outside the Red Lion and the little shop here in Shadwell, after having walked around this amazing, beautiful village and been up to Slade Hill. Nice little parish this. I don't know why I've never been here before. This is the kind of one that I like to discover, the kind of one that sort of I know where it is on the map. I haven't got a clue what's there when I actually get there, and the things you find out are just amazing, and I hope you've enjoyed this one as well. And I am going now to my next one here in Leeds, which is not too far away, and it's another one I know nothing about, so hopefully more of the same. You'll see that one next week. I've been Andy, otherwise known as the Village Idiot, and this has been the Parish of Shadwell, and I'm out.